Interesting thing that happened while we was doing this. Across the road, we had pops, wood knocks, all kinds of crap there. And this was after I went in, and yeah. And then I went hiking out, and that had a bit of an interesting moment to it. Of course, you know me; everything's recorded. It may be months. It may be week. It's probably going to be months before you see any of this. Um, because we're going to contact the right people. I don't think it's possible to have documented this any more than what we did. What do you think?
I don't think so. You guys did a hell of a job.
I mean, so although somehow I managed to get home without all the documentation. So, if you're here for conclusive proof of a legendary creature or conclusive evidence in this video, I'm going to be upfront with you and tell you that, yeah, we're not going to find any. This is about the journey. This is about my journey. And if you're just out for evidence, you may want to go look for another video now. But if you want to see the journey, hang around. I don't know if you guys can see this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we woke up and found this morning. See, this is where something turned around. I haven't broke out the wallies yet. We got to watch it. Don't really look like kids' feet. So like that way, it must have spun around, come back this way. We're looking for larger tracks. I mean, that's not. I guess that one there is larger, but yeah, I'm concerned about it possibly being little kids. But the foot doesn't look right. So we had found those tracks, and one of the things that was very noticeable was that the water level had been high. And what I mean by that is that you could look down, and you could see a water erosion line had formed along the shore there. So that told me that, at that point, all those tracks were underwater at some point. Now, being a fisherman, one of the things that from both bank and from boat that I come to learn is the dangers of walking in the water without shoes on. And I mean, this is very risky when you think about it. Um, it's the fishing hooks, which can cause tetanus, um, beer bottles, broken glass. You also risk bacterial infections doing this without shoes, going into mud, and a whole list of parasites. Water midges, I got a bad case of those once from shoring a boat, and it itched like crazy for weeks. So this question came to mind. How did somebody, or why would somebody um, be making these tracks? Finding the Trackway gets its name from 2021 when we found several large footprints that were much larger than mine, and they were spread much further than I could step. Those were obvious. Uh, did not look that a normal person could make that kind of step back then. But what we're looking at here are tracks that are actually smaller than mine. The stride is achievable. They do look like they move through the mud a lot easier than we did, which also makes me think that the ground was still hydrated pretty well or still underwater. Some of them had arches in them, some of them did not. And so, I may have a lot of experience with deer tracks, bear tracks, coyote tracks, bobcat tracks, but human tracks, not so much. And I was quite certain these were human because I didn't see any claws. It's almost a straight 100-yard trackway. And I know that bears can't double step going forward. It's almost impossible for them to do so because their legs are, well, their proportions with their body doesn't really work out that way. Really, the only time bears can double step is when they turn left or they turn right. So I kind of had a lot of questions on my mind. And so what I did is I got on the phone and I reached out. I reached out to people that I knew that had more experience than I did as far as studying feet. However you want to say it, big feet, little feet, human feet. And, I'm sure Jonathan won't mind me saying that, calling him, one of the things that he pointed out is that the toes did not have great splay to them. That they looked to have been bound like somebody who was wearing shoes. And also kind of looks, when you stare at the toes long enough, you start seeing pedicures. Sharp toenails, which was interesting. Not claws, toenails. So I made another phone call, and the recommendation was, really, when in doubt, try to cast it out. The 3D scans will tell you a lot, but the casting will tell you everything. So, upon advice, which was sound, is to go through, document. That way, if it turns into something, you've got it documented. And so we started going through the tracks, taking measurements across the heel, across the furthest part of the foot or the ball, and we started measuring toe splay to make sure that wasn't, a practical joke of somebody running around stompers, which they weren't. And then we also measured the length, and we took in-depth pictures of each one. Now, on the other end, there was obvious signs of some kind of excavating equipment had been brought in. And we would learn later on, talking with the operators of the excavating equipment, that they brought it in. I'm not sure if it was Friday or Saturday to clear some of the beaver dam that was causing the area to flood.
Okay.
It looks to me like two specific individuals. There's not a huge difference, but you have the 11-inch, and they're very consistent. 11 inches, 4 inches wide, 3 at the heel, and then the toe splay depends on the placement and what the foot is doing. But there, the index toe is the longer. The shorter one is 10 inches pretty consistently, and the middle toe is the longer.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of muddled, so I haven't been able to get a stride because I can't find one set that's a...
Yeah, the stride one's over here.
So yeah, that's I need a break before I can do that. But yeah, that's going to be, there's a beautiful just trail of left, right, left, right, left, right. But they clearly either did some pacing back and forth or it was up and then back, because some of them are facing to our left and some of them are facing to our right. So it's either once down and back or there was a bit of pacing going on there. I don't see any spots where they were standing for any length of time, shifting weight foot to foot, anything like that. Actually, I haven't found one yet that's actually facing the lake. They're all perpendicular to the shore.
Yeah, when you get over here, you're going to see that there's two that go into the lake. And then back over here, you'll see it again where two go into the lake.
There's a lot of vegetation interspersed, so there are places where you can see that something went through, but with the grasses or whatever that funky spongy weed is up there, I mean, you can see that there's an indentation, but you can't make out anything else. So I'm only documenting the ones that look pretty easily recognizable as bare footprints with 5 toes. And
Okay.
I found 49 of them so far. So I am up to number 14.
All right. Well, we're going to wait
Okay.
until you get through here, and then we'll start doing some of the casting.
Okay, in that case, maybe I'll press on. I was going to take a little break, but
Okay.
there's a lot of crouching, a lot of...
Yeah, I know.
The mud is very heavy and very sticky.
And
So I'm carrying around an extra pound or two of mud on my boots right now.
It's appreciated.
It is kind of physically demanding stuff.
But
it's interesting.
The measurement I took came from right out there. And we chose Mrs. T to do the measurements because she's detail oriented as opposed to me, who was like, yeah, that's close enough. Which won't float. She's extremely detail
What I have
oriented.
to stop myself from doing is saying, okay, these are the 11-inch tracks, and then just slopping it and assuming they're all 11 inches, they're all 14 inches wide, they're all 3 at the heel. They seem to be, but I'm still trying to be as precise as I can. Oh, no, it only looks like 2 3/4 on the heel here. You know, and again, it's depending. Some of them are really deep. I mean, like really deep. But it's interesting because they're not, look at my floundering footsteps in the mud, and granted, I'm standing in one spot and crouching down and doing stuff, but whoever made these prints did not seem to be having nearly as much of a tough time with this sticky mud as I am.
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting.
All right.
Another thing that became, of interest is where's the origin? Where did they start at? And so I started looking for that and started looking for any place where these tracks could have originated from. Now, my suspicion is maybe I got off of one set of tracks and bumped into another set. Very highly possible. I am not a tracker. Anybody that tells you they're a third, fourth, fifth generation tracker is probably talking out of their bottom. But especially in the Northeast, when you go to the West, it's a totally different creature. When you go to the Pacific Northwest, forget about it. But this, I went looking to see if I could find a point of origin. I'm not certain that I did.
They would be coming from an unconventional area. And so I've got down the water cut right off the bat. Right there we have an impression. So let's see what kind of impression I'm making. A little bit more defined. Is this hard enough pack? That's some hard pack and substrate right there. That's intriguing. That's intriguing over here. What isn't intriguing is seeing stuff like this is blocked. That stick would have been a nice identifier that somebody came this way to keep you from going up. Over the log, any sign? Let's take a look, see. Yep, right there. I can see one right here. And I just heard a thump immediately to my front. I'm not sure if that was caught. That was fun. Trying to find a good spot to go up. I'm out here with a busted hamstring, freshly repaired hand. Yeah, and I can't get up that. Don't fall backwards. All right. Definitely not easy for a human to do. If Okay. Switch hands. Interesting track there. Definitely could use Jonathan right now. Here's vocalizations in front of me. So, I don't know if you can tell, but we got them rocks covered in a whole bunch of tracks. Now, the interesting thing that happened while we was doing this, across the road, we had pops, wood knocks, all kinds of crap there. This was after I went in, and yeah, and then I went hiking out, and that had a bit of an interesting moment to it. Of course, you know me, everything's recorded. It may be months. It may be weeks. It's probably going to be months before you see any of this. Because we're going to contact the right people. I don't think it's possible to have documented this any more than what we did. What do you think?
I don't think so. You guys did a hell of a job.
And so, although somehow I managed to get home without all the documentation. Shit, where the hell is it? I don't know.
Do you have a pump against it? But I can find it.
A what? Yeah, the shower pump. It's in the bag.
Pump soap. Yeah, just at the pump of hand soap. I had them there somewhere. I just got that.
Oh, what do you want?
Hand soap.
Oh, no, I don't have any hand soap.
Washy.
Now, we did experience some strange vocalizations. Unfortunately, both times I happened to be too close to the Zoom microphone. I had the auto gain on. So, as I'm close to the microphone making noise, it's cutting out the gain, and we did not capture any of the sounds that we heard in person. As we were sitting there, all three of us heard a series of wood knocks and mouth pops, originating from about where I was at in the woods across the roads where the video was taken, and they were headed north. And that's the direction I went afterwards. I went north after it, even on a bad knee. Then later on that night, the girls would heard it. They heard it. I didn't hear it. Both Jen and Deb heard what they described as the slide whistle whoop. And that's a whoop that just goes whoop, whoop. Which is very contrasting to this whoop sound that I think that the barred owls make. But it was very interesting. So, but unfortunately, we didn't capture any of that.
Rasta, she said, and tried to look the other way. Who's Rasta, she said, you know I love you. All right, big guy.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, we haven't been petting the sweaty stuff. We haven't been sweating the
Steady stuff.
petty stuff.
Sweating the petty stuff or sweating the sweaty stuff? Maybe.
Hopefully you found Rasta running around there. I think we've ran into something out here.
Something's been running around here.
Yeah, there's some newly falled trees too that weren't down when we were here in June. It's right over there. Well, there's 2 recorders out here, so this one does not look to have been disturbed. There's one. Okay, Rasta. Hopefully we found your kids' tracks. It's okay. We're not going to harass you any. But I did find it quite interesting.
Indeed.
It's further back. See there, that tree's that was where I saw the shadow figure. Or captured the shadow figure. Of course, the thermals are down today, but that's okay. All right, let's go up and get the other one. Yeah.
I was telling Joe, he already knows what we found down there, but if you prove something, then
That's right, we soldier on, Joe. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to soldier on, but I think Joe and I were the same age too.
50.
Yeah, a little bit older maybe.
Yeah, nothing wrong with sitting smoking. Introduce Baron.
Baron. Baron.
Baron.
Okay, find the squatch.
Find his watch. Find him.
That means I'd have to be loose.
Scared to death to find his watch.
I'd have to be loose.
We don't terrible idea. We don't hunt dogs.
We don't need that.
All right. So when we got home after about, well, number one, the casts were wrapped up in bubble wrap and wrapped up in towels, and they were all crated back home. After about, I'd say 4 to 7 days, I started cleaning the tracks off. And then I started doing 3D imagery of the scans. Then I started going out to find out whether or not these had any significance to them. Now, another point, that needs to be made out is that we did discuss a few things. And, having talked with the conservation officers, because they showed up, they looked at the tracks and said, man, those look weird, which tells us that they weren't there when they were there. At least, that they could see if it was underwater. Was to consider the fact that, this is a camping area. We're there Monday morning, so, when the water was drained down, whether it was Friday or Saturday, that leaves opportunity for, somebody or some kids just camping there and having fun to have left these tracks. And that was one of the things I really wondered off the bat was, if it was somebody gigging frogs, little kids chasing frogs, because that's what my memory goes to is Canada and watching the little kids chase all the frogs up there with their nets. Fishermen, like I said, I'm a fisherman. Once you have a barbed hook buried in your hand and a finger or whatever, you don't even want to think about ever having a barbed hook in your toe. That frightens me, or even worse, between your toes, because you only have one choice, and that's to push the thing through. And when you go into environments like this, you pretty much guaranteed that if you step on a hook, it's going to be rusty, and so you got tetanus now to worry about. So, yeah, I thought it was strange, but we did believe that it was possible for these tracks to have come from someplace else. It could have been a natural reason. At the time, okay, while we was documenting, I watched a couple come out. They had a dog. That thought occurred to me that because they were water training the dog, could the dog have gotten hung up and they went after the dog to try to coax it out of the water? The other thing that we saw, well, actually the girl saw, I didn't see it until later on, was that there was a set of biologists who appeared to be biologists. They were taking notes and walking around the area. And so, that's another possible source of bear footprints. Again, as a parent, as an experienced fisherman, experienced outdoorsman, you couldn't pay me to go into that water without some kind of foot protection on. So did we find the tracks of a legendary creature? Well, there's our tracks in the middle. To the left is the Graves Harbor track. To the right is the Meldrum cast. And our tracks are in the middle. So you can see how much smaller the tracks are. Now what I highlighted with the parachute cord is the different kind of structures within the foot. The Meldrum cast shows you that mid-tarsal break right there, highlighted with the green paracord. Whereas our tracks demonstrate a pressure ridge in the shape of a question mark. And that is the defining indication that it's a human track. The Graves Harbor cast, it's much larger. The mid-tarsal break isn't quite as notable, but it's there. So we did not find juvenile Bigfoot tracks. What we found and what we believe we found, and actually you can see it right here, how the toes are different a little bit. What we believe we found was tracks made by two women. And like I said, I reached out, chased it down, did quite a bit of learning on this. And unfortunately, the castings that we took, the 3D scans that we took, all 50 tracks that we documented were in fact human. So, is that a letdown? Yes. Was it truly a gut punch? Not really, because, we're walking away with experience and a lot more knowledge than we had prior to. And that's a big part of this, whether it be sounds in the wilderness, sights in the wilderness, going out and just learning and not being afraid. And like I said, a lot of people would not make this video because they don't want to look, they're too concerned with the image. They want to be, the go-to source. They want to be the, I don't know. But they don't want to travel down the road to get to that destination and build themselves up as a source of valuable, valid information. And, that's what I'm here for. I'm here for answering, I'm not here to answer questions for anybody else. I'm here to answer my questions that I have over things that I have seen and things that I've heard. So, like I said, we did not get Bigfoot tracks, but we take the lessons that we learned and the experiences that we gained and work from it. this were to ever happen again, one of the things I definitely would have gotten was a couple sheets of plywood. Oh my, I would have killed for plywood that day. And, you know, the other thing I wasn't spoken about is that I had plaster in my vehicle. We wound up buying gypsum. These are casts made out of drywall paste. My plaster of Paris had gotten wet and become hardened in the truck. So we learned a bit there. We learned a bit about the mixing for the castings. We learned quite a bit, and I'm going to tell you, to get to this stage is not an easy feat. It sounds like it. You mix water with a medium, you get it to like a pancake batter consistency, and you pour it. At one point we built a dam out of mixing sticks to capture one of these. The depth, some of the other stuff that we learned, while 3D imagery is great, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't beat a cast. And that adage is, when in doubt, cast it out. Seems like good advice. So if you get an opportunity, maybe have a friend or somebody go walk through some mud and cast away, because you're going to learn so much. This is not easy, believe it or not. One cast might be easy, 2 casts, a lot of work, a lot of documentation, a lot of stuff that you're going to want on hand. But furthermore, there's going to be stuff that you're going to want to buy in the field. And you don't want to be making, like in this case, multiple trips back and forth to the nearest hardware store that's 20 miles away. So now we're at that point where really all I got is audio for you. And I got a bit of a story here to go with it. Because I had actually listened to all the audio and, was kind of lackadaisical about it. The footprint thing wore on me. A couple other insights really were wearing on me. And, I kind of just thought that, we didn't really find anything. But then I found that video on 24 February. And I also have, Audacity now instead of relying solely on Audio Lab. So I tore through every piece of audio that we collected our entire time there 2 to 3 times. There were a couple whoops that could have been brought out, but, you're probably about sick of hearing whoops. But really the rest of the audio, the stuff from the other campsite, nothing, really exciting out of it, nothing really of, that I couldn't explain was present. Some barred owl calls, bugs, you get that kind of like, we had a couple instances where, the bugs get on the recorder, they dry their wings, they make this kind of like purr sound. Captured that in West Virginia. But, and then, let's see, the audio recorder that I had at Joe's sighting area, that was all corrupted. And it's not related simply to Joe's area, because I used that same audio recorder again. I got to see what's going on with it. The audio, the second time, from an area in Ohio, it was all corrupted as well. So I've got a bad audio recorder. And really, this is about all I have to present. I am interested in it. I've sent this audio off as well to have it checked out, a couple different people. What I like about it is that the frequency isn't crazy. It's not up in the barred owl range. It's below it, and around 3 to 400 hertz, somewhere around there. And the other thing I like about it is that this was close. Whatever made this vocalization was close. One thing, too, that I need to mention right now, real quick. When you're doing this stuff, do not let your captures become related by you. What does that mean? That means if you find a video and you find tracks and you have an audio in a different area, do not make assumptions that those are all interconnected. Treat each piece of captured material as its own unique identity. Unless you're like pulling footprints or an audio out of a spot where there's a visual sighting at the same time. Or, there was no tracks there the day before. You have an audio that night, you find tracks the next day. And that you have that documented both before and after. So keep that in mind. Just because we found these tracks does not mean these tracks are related with the video that we captured. That video does not mean that it is related to the audio we captured. Each one of them is individual. We don't know what they are or if they're even related.